Hello, everyone. It's Brian here, and it's time to talk about Record Store Day. So, first, let me just give you a bit of background of my personal experience with Record Store Day, and that is to say that I have never stood in line for a store on Record Store Day. Um, in fact, until recently, I had never even gone to a record store on Record Store Day. It's only happened twice, I think, maybe only once, where I just happened to be walking by, maybe before the pandemic, and went in. But usually, I usually just look through whatever's left over during the days after Record Store Day. But this year, I realized everyone would be sleeping, so I thought I'll just go to a record store, hoping to go to more than one. I had somewhere to be at noon, so I knew I didn't have very much time. So I chose a store that opened at 8 o'clock, even though they didn't have everything I wanted. And but I realized I made a miscalculation because I went over at 7:30, and there was already a giant line, which I guess I should have known about. I should have predicted that. And as I was in line, I discovered that the first person in line arrived at 11 p.m. and spent the entire night there. And then that by 5 a.m. there was already a pretty big line. So I would say it took me almost 2.5 hours to even get into the store, and that was a little frustrating. And perhaps more frustrating is they had something listed online that they had, but they didn't get it or something when I got there. So big line. And I will say right up, the thing I was looking for was the Peter Murphy covers record. That's what I wanted. I knew the store didn't have it, but I thought I would start there and go to another store that opened later. It opened at 10, so I thought I would be able to do that. So I went in the store, and they didn't have the things I wanted. They didn't have. There was one that I was sort of interested in, and I decided to buy it because I didn't want to leave empty-handed, if that makes any sense. So I got OMD, Junk Culture, Rarities and Demos. This is a limited edition record, and it wasn't high on my list, but I guess because there wasn't much else there, I decided to get this. And this is on colored vinyl, and so one of them is pink, and one of them is blue. So this is the blue vinyl. It's disc number 2, I think, and then the other one is it pink? No, well, it's whatever color this is. So I got that, and I'm happy to have that. There was another OMD record this year. It was instrumental versions of Bauhaus Staircase. They didn't have that either. But while I was in the store, and I knew this ahead of time, that they had posted something that they would be selling all previous Record Store Day inventory for 50% off. So I looked through those bins, and I grabbed two things, and the first one was this Joe Strummer Live at Music Millennium from 1999. I have seen this many times. It's not a rare record at all. You could have found it anywhere, but it's a weird recording because it has 5 songs, and both sides A and B have the same song, so they just repressed the same thing on side 2. And the price that they had on this was normally, I think it was $30.99, so I got it for half of that. So that seemed fair to me. I don't think this is a revered recording or anything. It's kind of an acoustic, low-key affair, but it is really nice to hear Joe's voice on something you hadn't heard before. I mean, for me, he has one of the greatest voices in rock and roll. I just have always loved his voice. So it's kind of a strange thing. Here's the inner sleeve. And as I say, the side A and B are the same. So I guess if you end up scratching side A, you've got side B to rely on. So that's kind of weird. So I was happy to get that for that price. I wouldn't have spent any more than like that. I think that was probably a good price. And then also looking through the bins, I saw this Broken Social Scene record called Feel Good Lost, which is this is a Canadian indie rock collective I mentioned before. There is one other version of this on vinyl, but this is the Record Store Day limited release, and it comes with this strange poster. I guess it's a poster. It has, should have pulled this out beforehand, a download card, which I don't need because I've had the CD since it came out. And then it has this little wavelength March 2001, I guess it's a zine or something. So it has stuff written by Johnny Dovercourt. Got an ad for Rotate This, a pretty major record store in the city. Some photographs. I haven't read this. And so just, things like this. And then oddly, on the back has a big ad for Soundscape. So Wavelength would like to acknowledge and the continuing support given by Soundscape and its owner, Greg Davis. Well, Soundscape's shut down several years ago. It doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, it was a interesting little record store in Little Italy. And let's see this. So I showed you the front. This is the back. It has this weird plastic slipcase, which I'm not going to be able to operate properly, but this kind of thing with the writing. The writing is actually on the sleeve. And this is probably that terrible vinyl that you're not supposed to, or terrible plastic that's not supposed to be near your records. And then two pieces of vinyl on just black vinyl. So 1, 2. And so then I had to go. Well, actually, I didn't go right away. I actually did cycle to another record store because I had a bit of time. But judging by the lineup, I figured I had at least an hour in line. I didn't have time to go in. So I had to go do my social obligations. So the very next day, though, I decided to go out and see what I could find. So I went to a different record store, and I was hoping to find the Peter Murphy. They didn't have it. So the only thing I came away with was this Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros Rock Hard and X-Ray Style, which, I know this record very well, but it's a limited edition pink vinyl copy. So let me just pull one of those out. Of course, I have the box set of this anyway, in one of the Joe Strummer boxes. So on the George Harrison, like the other Joe Strummer, the George Harrison record label. So that was a good find. I'm happy to have that. And that was that day. And then this is a long thing here. So I'm losing track of time. Was it Tuesday? Yes. I went and met up with French Vinyl Addict, who I've already mentioned, and I went to 3 stores looking again for Peter Murphy and whatever else was there that I wanted, and no one had it. But I had a weird experience at the last store I went to, which is a store called Kops Records, Kops. I looked through their record store record store day remainders, and they had everything they had left was 25% off. But there was nothing I really wanted. I was sort of tempted by the Neil Young thing, but it occurred to me after being to so many stores that the prices were really variable this year. I sort of assumed that they would all be the same, and I know stores sell for different prices. But for example, in the first store I went to, the Pixies Live at Red Rocks was $79.99. I don't understand that. Even on Discogs now, it's actually cheaper than that. I don't understand that price. I saw the Tom Verlaine box at one store for $120 and saw it at another store for $150. There were also differences of like $2 to $5, or even this one I saw for $5 or $6 more than I paid for. So just weird. I thought the prices were a little strange, but I was in Kops and I looked through all their record store day stuff, and then I was just browsing the bins, and then I saw something that just floored me because I had been looking for this record for, this might seem crazy, but for 10 years. This came out in 2014 I'm pretty sure it was a record store day release. I'm pretty sure I should have double checked that, but this is Peter Murphy. Oddly, a lot of glare there, but this is Mr. Moonlight Tour, 35 Years of Bauhaus, and as I say, this came out in 2014. As far as I know, I checked on Discogs. It's never been repressed. I have no indication that it's been repressed. It has 5 tracks from the tour to celebrate 35 years of Bauhaus that were recorded at the Henry Fonda Theater in Los Angeles in 2013. So it has Double Dare, In the Flat Field, A God in an Alcove, The Spy in the Cab, and Stigmata Martyr. And I have looked at this on Discogs many times because every once in a while I think, maybe I'll find a cheap copy. But the cheapest one today, I just looked, after shipping and would have pushed $100. So I was stunned. I don't understand why I was sitting there. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. Like, I guess this is the closest thing I would say. I hate to use the word grail, but I guess maybe it was. It's the inner sleeve. This is obviously a 10-inch record, if I didn't say that. And it's on this interesting transparent, I guess, sort of seafoam green vinyl. So that kind of made my day. That kind of almost made up for the other Peter Murphy I couldn't find. So there is a DVD of this concert that has the entire show, but they just chose to put 5 songs on this particular release. So that was the weirdest thing that happened to me. It's so strange. And so that was the third store that I went to. And then today, well, I don't know if it's going to be today when you see this, but I went to a further store. And before I went, I checked the inventory of a different store that had put everything online. And they had one thing I was looking for. Instead of ordering it there and picking it up, I went to the other store just to see if they had the Peter Murphy, which they did not. But they had the thing I was looking for that the other store had, but cheaper. So Electrofiction. This is Burned. This, of course, is the project from Ian McCulloch and Will Sargent from Echo and the Bunnymen. And this was released in 1995 on compact disc, but this is the first time it's ever been released on vinyl. And this is a limited edition. I mean, that's limited edition. It's, if you read this carefully, limited edition black and white swirl. So that means that, next month they could put out a plain black version or a different color. But I think limited edition refers to the color of the vinyl, not the fact that it will be only once on vinyl. There's 2,000 of these, so I'm pretty sure if it's popular, they might sell it again. Oh, inner sleeve, and get this out of here. It's actually a pretty nice looking piece of vinyl, if you ask me. Get this the right way around. There we go. There's the back. And so I was happy to get this. This was one of the ones that was on my list of things I wanted. And took me a few days to get it. So, I'll keep my eyes open for the Peter Murphy. It's unlikely I'm going to be able to find it. And I have checked Discogs already, and the price is kind of silly now. So, anyway, I'll keep my eyes open for that. And that's it for me. It was a pretty good, I have to say, a pretty good RSD. In previous years, I've been not enthusiastic about the list, but there were actually more than this that I would have considered, but, I didn't want to spend too much money. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.